delay right now on Twitch, so that is exciting. What I'm going to be talking about real quick is that a few people have asked about it, and I was a little hesitant to do it at first because, in general, I really like the idea of doing the monthly coaching. However, I am trying to stream more. I have this time available from like 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. that's sort of dedicated to study time for myself. However, I figured that if I can do some coaching during this time, right, some sort of just hand history review, general coaching, that would be an effective way for, me to increase the amount of time that I'm streaming, as well as still be focusing on, poker and study, etc. So what I'm going to do is offer some on-stream coaching. It's going to be hand history review only. I have really no interest in doing like live sweat sessions unless for some reason somebody really, really wants to do that. Then send me an email and maybe we can talk about it. But I really think the most effective way to study is going to be to do hand history reviews. They're going to be 2-hour sessions. It'll be every day during the week from 10 a.m. to noon. All right, so if you can't make the time, that's fine. It doesn't need to be a dual commentary thing. I can just do it and go through the hands. But it's going to, be a full 2 hours. I can do it with or without the student. There's no description in this video. This was from a YouTube video that I just made talking about the same thing. If you guys do want an example, there is an example of a coaching that I did on my YouTube channel. It may still be in the recent streams where I coached a 10 No Limit student, and I did a hand history review, so you can kind of see what that looks like. All right. It's going to be streaming live just like right now, no delay, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. It's only going to be on Twitch. I'm going to shift it so that if people from YouTube want to watch, they can watch on Twitch. We're just going to focus on Twitch for these particular live streams. The current price is only going to be $75 per session. That's $75 for a 2-hour hand history review coaching session that includes me reviewing and noting up all the hands prior to the session. So it's going to be like a very organized, thorough coaching session. I'm going to do an analysis on your last 5 to 10K hands. I'll notice if there's any like stats that look out of whack. Go over those, and then also I will go through a bunch of hands and try to come up with like 1 or 2 main themes that are areas that like that particular student really needs to focus on to improve their game. And I'm really going to focus on like C game type stuff, like stuff that like, the stuff that's really close is not where most people are losing most of their win rate. It's the C game type of play. And that's kind of what I focus on my own study, is going through and finding the mistakes that I make that are like kind of way out there and like definitely incorrect. So that's what I'm going to focus on for the students as well. Steps to take if you are interested in getting some of this coaching is to send the payment to unexceptionalrounder@gmail.com on PayPal. And then you can submit a 5 to 10K hand sample to unexceptionalrounder.com. You can send a note about when you might be able to do it, but I'll send you a link to a schedule. I'll grab a scheduling app that pretty much is going to be able to let people just plug in the times that they're available, and it'll also be based on what I have going on and when I have time to go through the hands, because like I said, it's going to take me probably an hour or so to go through the database and actually look at all the hands. Big Roosta, thanks for the host. I didn't know I had that little Muxy app thing going, so appreciate that. All right, so those are the steps. That's how it works. I will probably take this information and put it below the stream so that information is there. And again, we're going to start streaming from 10 a.m. to noon every day. It's going to be sort of a standard schedule, so that I have some sort of schedule that I can say, here's when I'm on stream every day of the week to try and build some consistency, and this is what it's going to be for. All right, that's that. So now, let me get this out of the way. Let me go ahead and change the description of this. Daily hand history review, coaching, and study. Live. Okay, done. All right, so that's what we're going to call it. And next step is pulling up Poker Tracker. So I'm going to leave that up while I pull up Poker Tracker. And I'm going to get some hands pulled up. So what I'm going to do is go to, you know what, I'm just going to go to this month. And I'm going to grab like the last 1,000 hands. And I'm going to go through my biggest losses. So these are going to be some probably embarrassing hands. Some of them might be. But we'll see what it looks like. Yeah, what I'm gonna do is grab the last 1,000 and I'll go down to like 4 big blinds. So we'll grab a bunch of hands and set up the hand replayer to replay them. Let me move this over here. I'm gonna go ahead and full screen the replayer. And all right, cool. So now I just need to make the actual replayer the replayer. There we go. All right, looks pretty good. So let me put my glasses on and hopefully this chat app is working. Let me test to make sure whatever thing I have in the chat is working. Actually, for right now, I'm just going to use my normal chat app because that has like all my like other stuff in it. So let's do that. I'll set some of this stuff up later. I kind of made this the decision that I was going to do this today because I really wanted to get going with like a regular schedule and I wanted to do some hand history review. So let's go ahead and sorry, apologize that there's a little bit of setup going on, but it happens. Let's see, turn that off. Turn that off, and I'm gonna add that. All right, for now we're just gonna put it right there. All right, so we've got the Restream chat on there. And let's go. Let's do this. So here we've got an ace king and figure out which is going to be. I'll try to hit the keys a little bit quietly so that it's not so crazy. And the way I want to do this is talk about what action I think looking at it right now makes the most sense. Then we'll see what action I take and I'll decide, you know, okay, well, what's going on? Why is this a mistake or why isn't it? Then I'll go ahead and, if needed, I'll put some notes on there as well so that I can add it to a collection of hands that I'll review regularly. All right. So this looks standard. We get an opponent call. We should make our standard, depending on exactly when this hand was, either 25 or 33% c-bet. Again, I haven't looked at too much data on 3-bet pots, but again, my assumption is that in general, if 33% is overfolded, 25% will also be overfolded, and if anything, a little bit more. And additionally, if I want to be 3-betting a lot, which I typically think 3-betting really often, especially on Ignition, is going to be profitable, then I think a smaller sizing on the flop is going to be a little bit more accurate for sort of a wider range. That's again, some of that's a little bit assumptive. I need to do a little bit more work in the lab and with hand to note to figure that out. But once I do, we will, uncover the truth. So again, I made a video for my students today, and I was talking about like on the flop, we can actually talk through very quickly some of the turns that we expect to see and what we expect to have happen on the turn. So like on a board like this in a 3-bet pot, I already know that I'm going to be barreling pretty much all low cards. If it's like 8 or below, maybe not an 8, because an 8 is going to connect with some of his calling range a little too well, but let's say like a 6 or below. So if it's a 6 or below, if it pairs the board, if it's an ace or a king, let's say if it's a king. If it's an ace, I might more likely check unless it's an ace of diamonds. But right there, we can kind of go through like, all right, now I know which cards I'm barreling on and which cards I'm not barreling on. And by saying that ahead of time, I can say like, okay, like that's my plan going forward. Let's see how I actually play it. We get a 4. This should be a barrel. It should be for half pot. Okay, this looks good. Our opponent raises. Oh my. I kind of already know we have to apparently call this. I think this was actually a hand I played on stream, and these are oh, you know what? You guys can't see the stats. That's not ideal, but I can tell you this guy's playing 76-33, and I think I've already actually talked about this hand a couple times. But he looks like a pretty aggressive player. And we have ace king high, and I think my thought at the time was like, somebody can do this with like ace queen sometimes. I'm not really loving it right now. This seems like, or like flush draws, like somebody could jam, queen jack of diamonds here. So one other thing that we could do is we could look at like equity. It looks like you guys aren't going to be able to see the equity calculator, unfortunately. Oh, damn, everything just went away. What the heck just happened? Oh, that's weird. I had 2 hand history replayers up. All right, so because you guys can't see the equity calculator, I'm not going to get into that. But basically, I think we have to be very assumptive and assume that this guy is like a complete lunatic to think that this is the right play. And I don't think I had that. Like, I would have had to actually like see this guy do something like this. So unless I actually have a note on this player, like written in that he has done something like this, then that's not going to work. And I don't see that. What I see is that he, his pre-flop ranges that I see are like fairly tight for 3-betting and 4-betting. He's calling, he called a 3-bet with queens. He called a 3-bet with, he called 2-bets with some other like crap. But there's nothing in here that's like, jammed as a bluff, right? And that's what we would need here to make this call, I think. So anyway, I do end up calling. This is actually, the hand with queen. So I didn't have any evidence to make this call. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of note that this is like a C game play for me. And it's really important to identify like what is our C game. It's something that Jared Tendler talks about in his second book, or he talks about C game a lot in his first book. But being able to identify like what are the mistakes we're making when we're actually playing our C game is really important, right? Because if we can identify those leaks, those are some of the most expensive leaks, right? Like let's check this one out for example. This play, perfectly fine. Everything's all good up until here when we essentially make a 60 buy-in, 60 big blind mistake. And I've talked about, 60 big blind mistake, that's, ballpark 600 hands of poker that we kind of just like put ourselves back. So we put ourselves, back like 600 hands of poker. I'm trying to think. All right, I've got a bunch of mental. I'll be right back. So this is some worksheets from Jared Tendler's second book, and it's talking about A to C game analysis. So what I'm going to do, I won't do this on stream because it's not very interesting for you guys to watch a video of me writing something in a notebook, but I have a notebook that I use to talk about like mental game stuff. I've got a couple different like profiles here. I've got A to C game analysis that I've been working on. All right, so this is some of the stuff that I'll like sit down and write out after a session. I haven't been, perfect with this, but it's definitely something that I want to work on. And so what I'll do is I'll make a tag on here, and because I'm just kind of coming up with this now for how I want to do this, I'm going to go ahead and tag this hand for review. And then after the session, I'll just do a filter. I'll go through the hands that I review, and I'll sort of in my notebook categorize like what the mistakes are that I think are sort of C game related, so that I can really focus in on those. Because just really quick, like to explain sort of the basis behind why the C game analysis is important. There are certain things that we have in our game that if we're tired or if we're not in a good state of mind mentally, we can make a mistake. This is one for me, obviously, is like taking a read on a villain and being like, oh, this guy's pretty crazy, and then all of a sudden using that as an excuse to call off a turn shove with ace high, right? Like, it sounds pretty horrible when I say it out loud, but this happened, right? It happened in game. There was a moment in game where, for whatever reason, my alertness was, my focus, my patience, whatever it was at a low enough point that I somehow justified this out of frustration or whatever it was, that I justified this play. And so there are, there's no situation in the world where I would justify calling here with 10-jack offsuit, right? So like no time in any sort of stressed amount and in any sort of time would I ever call this off with 10-jack offsuit. Now, this isn't a great example because I don't think anybody would. I mean, maybe I've seen it, but there are certain things that are within our C game as a possible mistake to make, and certain things that just are so subconsciously ingrained that we'll never make that mistake, no matter how like drunk or tired or whatever we are. It's like in the casino. If you've gone to a casino and you've played, you play your A game for a while, and then eventually, like maybe you have a drink or two, you have a few drinks, maybe you're not reading the opponent's hand perfectly, maybe you're not doing your range versus range analysis perfectly, and so like some of your like C game stuff may slip in because you've had a few drinks. You don't start opening hands that you shouldn't under the gun usually, though. Like, at least that's for me. For me, no matter how many drinks at a casino I have, I don't start opening 10-jack offsuit under the gun. It's just not a mistake I can make. It's too subconsciously ingrained. The idea is that if we can identify where our C game is and what those leaks are, if we can train those to the point where they are now subconscious, all of a sudden that's not our C game anymore. All of a sudden, when I'm in whatever mental state I was in during this hand, I'll make this fold because it'll be so subconsciously ingrained that I'll know. And that may involve me taking this hand history and watching it over and over again. Literally watching it and talking through it, 20 or 30 times or, 10 times a day for a week until, it's so ingrained that this is an automatic fold that I don't really have to worry about it. All right, long first hand. Let's keep going. Are there really only 3 people on the stream? What's going on, guys? Not a lot of viewers today. Oh well. Hopefully the people that are tuning in are enjoying it. And like I said, I did just post a YouTube video covering this, so we'll see if anybody from YouTube sees that video and stops by. And let me go ahead and see if I can do a tweet. All right. I'm not very good at Twitter, but I'll send that out there. Okay, let's keep going. So this did not go well. All right, next hand. So, yep. All right, so jacks versus a cutoff. This is going to be a 3-bet, almost no matter what. There's no real tightness that would affect that. Now, our opponent re-raises. So, jacks are pretty clear. If we 3-bet under the gun and under the gun came back over the top, that would be a fairly clear fold with jacks, right? That's going to be too tight a range, an under the gun 4-bet. Versus a cutoff 4-bet, it's actually really close. And I'm not sure. Let me take a quick look. So we're button versus cutoff. Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing in a couple of charts that I have that it looks like it could even be like a 4-bet, but or a like a 5-bet. No, I mean, I think it's pretty much just a call no matter what, right? Especially on the button. So I mean, I don't think 5-betting jacks is correct here at all. I think the call is very standard and correct. So let's see what happens here. All right, when we do flop an overpair, you know, I don't expect that we're going to be able to fold on the flop, but we have to kind of keep in mind his range. So what we should do is kind of create like, what's our baseline assumption of an opponent here? Our baseline assumption of an opponent is most players are going to continuation bet very often, if not too often, in this spot. Okay, they're going to, you know, bet most of their range. And this player 4-bet. So what is a typical opponent's 4-betting range here? Well, I'm going to say that most opponents are 4-betting a very tight range, right? Like, let's say aces, kings, queens, ace, king, and if they have bluffs, you know, maybe like an ace-5 suited or something, but I don't think we can really credibly put bluffs in everybody's range because a lot of players don't have a 4-bet bluffing range on Ignition. And if I pulled up hand to note right now, you would see that the 4-betting ranges are incredibly tight. So we are pretty much, you know, at a point where we can essentially call 1-bet because he has as much ace-king in his range as he does aces, kings, and queens. But once he barrels twice, we have to sort of weight his range more towards aces, kings, and queens than the ace-king because a lot of players aren't going to be double barreling here with their ace-king. So that's sort of the game plan going forward. We get a third flush card, and I'm guessing our opponent jams. So I think what my thought process was here is we have sort of a general rule. We're not folding over pairs and 3-bet pots. I honestly don't know if that rule applies necessarily the same. And, you know, I need to switch these screens up because I'm like staring at the screen that's not the... I'm like off... I'm staring off at the screen that's not the one with the camera, so it looks like I'm like looking off to the side the whole time. Let's see how this looks. This looks okay. Let me move. There we go. That's a little better. Sorry. Let me get a good table size here. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Trying to make this look good. Replayer. There we go. All right, that works. Perfect. Cool. Okay. So that's the general thought. I mean, this is a hand that is probably pretty close, but again, unless we think he's actually doing this with tens, which I don't typically, then this can actually be a fold. So yeah, I think we should be folding here. And I think this is just something that I need to sort of confirm and then be able to implement. That, you know, versus a 4-bet, because the range is so tight, when we get the double barrel, there's just not going to be enough here to fold. So ironically, we're actually up against somebody that was doing this with a flush draw. And it's interesting. I thought I ranked it by equity. I thought I ranked it by adjusted, all-in adjusted. Oh, you know why? Because right now my tracking software, like for whatever reason, Poker Tracker is no longer recognizing adjusted big blinds. So it's just counting this as a call. So, you know, it's hard, right? I just sort of like said like why this is a fold on the turn. I don't think I have any evidence here that suggests that this guy is quite as insane as he apparently is to be 4-betting King 10 offsuit. And so I think that this is an anomaly, and I think the previous analysis actually stands pretty well. This is a hand that I'll also mark for review, but not necessarily because I think it's like a C game thing, because I think it's so close. But I want to review it and ask, you know, what our strategy should be. Check in with my coach a little bit, or at least run some EV equity analysis on my own. All right, let's move on. Nice little surprise there. So again, Ace King is just going to be a 3-bet pretty much from any position. And we get called. We're going to make our standard C-bet. All right, we get raised here. You know, this is a spot that's tough because 2-9-4, right? We have an opponent that called a 3-bet, so he's going to have a decent number of pocket pairs in his range that may do this. He may have some sets, but overall, he's going to be probably doing this as a he could do this with some flush draws. In an overcard. So I think there's enough in his range here that I think it's too early for us to be folding to a flop raise. Again, we've got Ace King. If he has, Ace Queen off with the Ace of Clubs, he's going to make this same play potentially. On a 2-9-4 board, I expect it to be check raised fairly often. So I think calling here is reasonable. And instead, I decide to jam over the top. I can understand why I would do this, but I don't think that it's necessarily the best play. I think that a better play is to call, and then we can... we're fairly deep with this player. The pot's going to be pretty big, so I guess the only play he's going to really have on the turn is to shove. But at that point, we will have either hit an ace, a king, or a club, or nothing, and we'll have a fairly easy decision, right? Like we can probably call on the ace, the king, or another club, but we'll have to fold on everything else. Again, we're going to have a lot of equity and a lot of pot odds on the turn. So, that's one option, and then we'd have to sort of evaluate how often one of those cards comes, if it's enough for us to call getting these odds. We're actually getting really good odds. We're getting 6-1. So he's laying us really good odds. I think the appropriate action is to call. I'm sure the reason I'm re-raising is because I think that he might be doing it light. But if he is doing it light, we're ahead of his range. So I think calling here is better than re-raising. And but I'm not sure that it's close. We're certainly never getting called by worse unless it's like a flush draw, which is, I'm sure, what I was thinking, is that we can get called by a flush draw. So yeah, we're 3-bet bluffing the flop in a 3-bet pot, which seems like it's on the edge of what's reasonable. I think we're kind of out in the wilderness here a little bit. So I think this is another hand that needs some further analysis. And we can already kind of see a pattern, right? If the first few hands that are the biggest pots are potentially mistakes, and that first one definitely was, and actually they're kind of similar spots, right? We're getting it in in 3 or 4 bet pots, and 2 of these are us getting it in with ace king on the flop in a 3 bet pot, which is definitely not a standard play. Again, we have pretty good equity against his hand, so I get it, but we're almost never getting called by worse. So it makes a lot more sense to call getting 6-1 against, a hand like jacks, ace 9, pocket 10s, hands that he might be doing this with, and realize our equity, which, getting 6-1, we were literally getting direct pot odds to draw to our ace or our king. So yeah, we should take those pot odds and not just ship it in against the better hand. So this is definitely a mistake. And another good mistake found. Geez, another ace king. We sure these are like different? Man, ace king has not been doing very well for me lately. Okay, let's see. All right, we raise. We are 3-bet from the small blind, so this is going to be a flat call. This is 100 no limit. This looks like it's probably a cooler if we lose here. I do like calling. There's no overcards that we're worried about. Now we have the flush draw. This seems like a perfectly reasonable call. And yeah, we run into aces. So this is just a cooler. There's no problem. Yep. Ace jack suited. So this is something I got to look into a little bit more as well. This idea that we should. I've heard some sort of some talk of maybe not having much of a calling range in the cutoff and MP, or in any position against early position. Essentially, like not having a calling range, other than the button or the big blind, basically, and pretty much playing 3-bet or fold everywhere else. I've heard that maybe that's because the rake is so high at small stakes, especially on ignition where there's no rake back. Again, it's something I'll have to confirm. I'm totally understand that 3-betting here with ace jack is fine. I happen to call on this spot. I don't think it's too terrible. We do flop 2 pair, top and bottom, so we're probably not going anywhere on the flop. This looks like a call to me. We call. All right. Again, we're playing against a 42-38 over 25 hands is the villain stats. And our opponent goes ahead, bets pretty large again. And again, I have to think that... so if we kind of think about what a under-the-gun villain's range is, who's going to raise and then c-bet into 2 players, it's going to be a fairly tight range. I would expect to see some ace-queen do this, but I would also expect ace-queen and ace-10 to check a large percentage of the time. So, therefore, we're not really... we're not really getting called against too many better hands, because even if he has like ace-10 or ace-queen, he has a pair plus gutter. A lot of players are going to go into are going to check this turn since it's got since it's so strong and hits so many ranges so well. So not only is our range protected, obviously his range is protected, and I'm not folding 2 pair, but I just want to kind of recognize that we're not like in great shape on this flop. It was 3-handed and it's EP versus MP versus cutoff. So I think calling here is okay. Now the flush gets there on the river, and this is going to be sort of a bet sizing determination on whether or not we should call. He does end up betting 30, and it's really hard to put him on any worse hand. I mean, the only thing I can really think of is if he has king jack in his value betting range here. So we have to sort of weigh the number of like king jack he has, which we block king jack just as well as we block ace-king. So if we think his, but the only other thing is ace-king is probably more prevalent and is under the gun range. Some players may not open king-jack offsuit under the gun. This guy probably does. He looks fairly aggressive. So we have to sort of evaluate, is he, betting king-jack here as often as ace-king, pocket kings, pocket jacks, or pocket aces? And it's a really close call. The flush getting there, it is a flush draw. We don't block any flush out, so that's a factor, but it's only a small factor here. So it's very, very close. I think that the multi-way aspect on the flop makes it even closer. The fact that he's, continuing to bet here, I'm okay either way. It's obviously an exploitable fold if we do choose to fold. And now I'll kind of go to if I have any notes on this player. Yeah, nothing really relevant. So yeah, this seems like a very, very close call. And without any other information, we probably have to default to as close to GTO as we know is correct. And so it's probably a call. And so I do make the call, and I'm guessing we run into ace-king here. So I am not sure if there's enough information here to make this fold with ace-jack. Obviously, it's kind of hard when we're evaluating it because we know we lost the hand. And I don't think that the majority of his range here is triple barreling. Like all of the hands that I'd have to beat here have to be sort of playing a little bit non-standard. King Jack is King Jack and Ace Jack make sense to go bet, but most of the hands, more frequent hands in his range here, are things like Ace Queen and some Ace 10 suited, things like that. So I wouldn't hate a fold here, and I don't really hate calling. I think it's really close. So it's a hand that I wouldn't mind having somebody else look at. All right, Queen 7. Okay. So top pair here. We should c-bet this. All right, this is a ridiculously large raise. I think I remember this hand as well. This player looks like they're raising. They've raised the flop once before. They've raised the turn a couple times. So this is a player that apparently likes to raise a lot. It's incorrect to fold top pair here against a raise. I know that, but when his sizing is so extreme, I mean, we're not even getting 2-to-1 here. So he's raising it so large. We have top pair, weak kicker. It's a really weird spot, but I still think a call is probably correct. So we make the call. The 8 connects with some of his bluffing range. And I think once he double barrels here, I feel like I can tell exactly what I was thinking. Is the 8's a bad card, but it's not quite bad enough. If it was a club, it'd be an easy fold. But again, our opponent is, raising and then barreling off here, and we've got a very weak top pair. So I could definitely get on board with folding this turn. So yeah, I would have no problem with folding the turn. Yeah, we especially if we're gonna have to face more action on the river, it's gonna be really tough to continue. So I think what this is a situation where if we're going to call this turn, we need to call pretty much all non-king, non-10, non-club rivers, or we should just fold here on the turn. So, and then we fold. Okay. All right. So actually, I'm pretty happy with how we played that. I think that if we call the turn and the river bricks off, we need to fold. We need to call, but if it comes in with a club or pretty much something that like an ace, a king, or a 10, then we probably need to fold. Club is probably the worst, but all right, I like how we played that actually. Pretty much put all the money in good. Maybe being a little results oriented, but I think that my read of the hand was pretty correct, and that the very large raise on the flop is much more polarized and is going to have a lot of draws in it. Again, it sort of goes back to that general bet sizing psychology where a player is going to be much more, when people are betting large, it's either they have a really good hand and want value, or they really want you to fold. So here, ace-jack offsuit is going to be a 3-bet. We get called from MP, and we get 10-jack-king. Okay, so we're going to make our C-bet, and we get called. Pretty much going to be checking back almost all turns here, except for maybe a 10. Or checking all turns. So we check. He bets small. He's only betting a third pot. We still have a pair plus a gut shot, so it's going to be a pretty easy call. And then on the deuce, we can probably fold versus most large bets. My only concern is that, all the flush draws missed. He probably has some some like Queen X, right, that could have missed. I mean, not that much actually. Like what, Queen 8 suit? No, I mean, I won't put too much Queen X in there. Some of his Queen X already has a straight. So really we just have to worry about like flush draws here, and I guess there probably aren't quite enough flush draws compared to the amount of top pair, 2-pair, straights, etc. that he has. So I think that this is a pretty reasonable check fold on the river. He ends up checking back, which is pretty expected, and apparently he had a better hand. So yeah, king queen. I like how we played that one. A6, C-bet, called. Not a great turn, but I'm still going to barrel this turn. We still have, top two. There's going to be other 2 pairs. There's going to be, other ace-x that are going to call. So we bet again. At this point, it's looking a little less promising, right, when he raises. So I also remember this hand at the time, and we can see that this is a fairly aggressive player. Well, you guys can't see, but I'm telling you, he's playing 42-21. He's raised the flop before. He's raised the turn twice before this hand. So he appears to be like raising a decent amount of turns. He has a 4-bet range. He's got some 3-bets. So he's not folding to C-bets a lot, meaning he's like floating a lot of flops. And then, it looks like he's floating flops a decent amount and then raising the turns. So not something I'm going to fold to yet, but certainly a concern. And I think once the 2 comes in, he's in the big blind. He can have a very wide range here, and he's going to connect with this. And like, honestly, I don't think that many 2-pair here are going to be barreling off that are worse than ours. I think we're going to be looking at, straights, sets, and like maybe some really crazy bluffs, but this player's aggression frequency is only 40%, so I think this is a fold on the river versus any kind of large sizing. Yeah, and he bets sort of a medium sizing, which makes it even harder. Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of biased because I know what the result is. I mean, the fact is that there's a 4-card straight out, and we have a lot of, against a decent player, which, an aggressive player is usually a pretty decent player. We need to kind of consider the fact that he's probably targeting, some part of our range. And if he thinks that he can get a call from ace-x, he's not going to bet huge on a 4-straight board. So this looks like a board we can probably fold even with our 2-pair. It's just too scary. And it connects way too well with his big blind range. That's going to have small pocket pairs and have a straight too often here. So I think we should fold here, and we ended up calling. So yeah, he raised when he turned a straight. So Yeah, I think that's one that we should review and take a look at the, let's see, we're calling too light on the river. So make a note of that and move on. Okay, let's see here. King Jack offsuit. Whoa. Oh, this guy's shoving. I think this guy had been like shoving a bunch of hands. Yeah, that's fine. He had been like shoving a bunch of hands, so King Jack ended up being pretty reasonable. Tens will be a squeeze. Ace King 7. We'll make our standard C bet. Now this is a really important part right now. I'm trying to think. Is this against the guy? No, I think this is something different. I think it's something different. No, this is the guy that we played against the other day. I'm pretty sure. No, yesterday's hands wouldn't be in here, so never mind. It's not yesterday's guy. Okay, this should be a fold, right? Okay, good. All right, good. So the point is our hand is incredibly protected here, and this is one of the things that I've been using to make a lot of folds recently. And it actually probably applies to our last hand too, where, you know, we're the button. We can have a lot, like we can pretty much have any two cards on the button. So our hand is kind of protected in that spot with sets and straights, etc. So that's probably one more reason we can find a fold there. Same thing here. You know, on an ace-king high board, when we're the pre-flop squeezer, our range is incredibly protected. A villain should not be bluffing here with... you know, he shouldn't really be bluffing at all. It doesn't really make sense to bluff a whole lot in this spot. Now, I'm not saying he can't, right? So this guy happened to have 3-6 offsuit. But like that's not a very, to me, that's not a very good idea. I mean, I've got 108 hands on this table, and I'm 3-betting 8%. So he's been playing with me the whole time. My 3-bet is only 8%, which is not very high. This is not going to be a plus EV bluff for him, I don't think, at all. It's just sort of insanity that he's like calling a 3-bet squeeze here with 3-6 offsuit and then raising a C bet. So yeah, pretty wild, but not something I think is particularly good, and certainly an anomaly. We're gonna make a lot of money off of a player that. Because, like, what happens when I call, right? I mean, does he just shut down, or does he keep barreling off into, like, my nutted hands? It's sort of an interesting question. But, no, I think my play's fine. This will be see, yeah, I kind of like 3-betting here. Even though this player's playing fairly tight against, like... I'm okay with calling on the button, because, right, we're going to have position, but I think 3-betting is going to just... take the pot down pre-flop a little bit more, get the pot heads up more, and I think we play really well in 3-bet pots, so against opponents who might not be as good as us, I think we should be in more 3-bet pots. Like, the more 3-bet pots we can get into, the better. This will be... oh, okay. So, yeah, this is just going to be a call. This should be a call, right? There's no real... here. He's gonna have some draws. He might have some double barrels with like overcards, turn some backdoor flush draws, and then now I think we should be able to fold, right? Like, I mean, for him to be tripling off here without a pair, there's not enough missed draws, I don't think. There's a few draws that like actually got here on this, like an 8-jack, you know, 6-8, stuff like that. I already have a straight. So those are all hands that are probably in his range. Over pairs are obviously kind of likely here, and then sets. So I think a fold here is fine. So I'm glad we made it. And he had a set of 7s, which is kind of what I expected. So I think the flop call, turn call are good. River fold is good. And good hand. It's nice being able to see the results sometimes. Like, I never would have, I honestly, like, would never have thought that guy had 3-6 offsuit. Or, like, just any kind of random bluff, because it just makes no sense to bluff into that board against our range. Maybe he, like, thought that our third pot bet sizing was was like a reason to raise, like that was light, but that's, what we do with all our hands. So here, queen 10, calling in the big blind's fine. We have a pair plus backdoor straight draw, backdoor straight draw as well. This guy folds. I'm okay calling here. This is fine. I wouldn't mind if somebody fold. I wouldn't call folding a huge mistake, but it's four-handed on the flop. We can't expect second pair to be good that often. And now he's betting half pot. We don't have a flush draw anymore. We don't have any kind of draws, so now I think we should be folding. So this, I think, is a mistake. Let's put this up in the review pile. Because it was multi-way on the flop, and now he's double barreling. Not only that, but I block a flush draw. I block some of his straight draws. So this looks like a hand that maybe I wasn't fully focused on. Not all my attention was there because there's so many reasons that we can find a fold here that I'm not really sure why we wouldn't. We're out of position. We block flush. We block straight draws. And it was multi-way on the flop. That's enough to fold the turn. And he ends up checking back. And yeah, he had top pair. So I think that's we can save ourselves 12 big blinds there on the turn pretty easily. Okay, this is fine. Yeah, this is fine. C-bet's fine. Fold, I assume. I hope. Okay, good. Again, that's what I expect to see when somebody raises a double Broadway flop versus the 3-better, is like a 2-pair type hand. So that makes sense. I don't expect to see 3-6 offsuit every time. Calling here is probably best. Probably call a flop bet. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's plenty that we've got. This shouldn't need too much explanation. It's just a call. On the turn, we don't have a flush draw anymore, obviously, and we have top pair. We're blocking the nut flush draw. This is something that I don't recall thinking about during this hand. I don't remember this hand specifically, but again, when we do block the nut flush draw, it takes some. Well, I guess that's top pair in this case. So regardless, yes, he can have some king high flush draws that he's barreling, and he could have some gut shots that he's barreling, but that's about it at this point. So 7-8, he could have some other draws that are barreling. But when he bets 12 here, it's probably a spot we have to call. I think that even again, I mean, we don't have enough hand. We only have 5 hands on him, so we have no idea how he plays. But with top pair on a double suited board, with a sort of board connecting turn with the 6-5, and we think if he c-bets here, with he can have a decent number of draws, and we block some top pair. So I think this needs to be a call. Okay, good. And then on the river, again, only against the most aggressive people can we call here, and he ends up checking back. So I think that against really aggressive players, which we don't have a read on, that we would need to call a river here. But against a passive player or sort of an unknown, we can probably check fold this river fairly safely because the triple barrel line is underbluffed, and players are not going to be following through as often here. And this guy obviously checked back something better than what we have. So he's even checking back ace-queen on this river. So it makes, a pretty easy fold for ace-9 if he's actually checking ace-queen. All right. Next hand. Strip poker 69. No, man, we're just going over some hands. That's all. Just going over some hands. Yep. Raise. We'll check our entire range in this spot, out of position. It's kind of interesting that this is a board that, because it's so disconnected, a Jack 2-6 might be a board that we check raise some amount of the time. I think check raising with our hand would be a functionality. Like, we'd lose functionality by check raising, right? There's not too many worse hands that are going to be able to call a check raise here, and there's not a lot, there's no better hands that are going to fold. I could see some worse hands calling. There's, some like... Yeah, I mean, pocket pairs or stuff may have to call a check raise here, but I don't think that that's common enough that it makes it a very profitable check raise. So I think I like the check call. And interesting here. Once we check call, we're going to check again. And then we should probably bet this river. And we get called, so I'm guessing he has a flush. Yeah. So this is fine. Trying to think. I wonder what I would do if he shoved instead of just calling. Like, if he raised here, I mean, it's kind of a tough spot. I guess it's a paired board with a flush out there, so the correct answer would be to fold. It would certainly be a little tricky though. But it would be a fold, and I think I would be able to make the fold. All right, let's see next hand. 3-4 suited. This is a misclick or something. I'm not sure what this is. This should be an ISO raise. So let's just skip this hand. Well, we'll play it anyway, but I end up calling. It's kind of weird. Get a flush draw. Pair plus flush draw. I guess pair plus flush draw. I mean, honestly, this should just be a fold. I remember this hand. We should just fold this hand. This is not a hand we need to call. It's three-handed. Like, we just have a lot of reverse implied odds in a three-handed. It was for, we just have a lot of reverse implied odds here, I think. Let me fold. Wow, we fold the best hand. That's really, I mean, so what happened here? So this guy called in the small blind with king 10 off. He bet the turn, got called, and then bluffed half pot on the river. A little bit less than half pot. I mean, I'm not calling with 3-4 here, definitely not, but it's an interesting play on his part. I think the turn is just a good fold. I think we should just fold the turn. Or fold pre-flop, or not make that mistake pre-flop. Any of those things sound pretty good to me. Okay. Alright, guys, feel free to ask questions or chat a little bit. It's a live stream, so there's no delay. The reason I made it live is because I thought there'd be some interaction with the viewers. So yeah, feel free to chat. All right, king queen. This is going to be a raise. This looks good. Actually, let me. Oh, sorry, that was the wrong. Whoops. Damn it, sorry. Okay, let's keep going. Now we get called. We're gonna make our standard C bet. We get min raised. What I've found generally, looking at some mass database stuff, is that the min raise is a little bit more weighted towards top pair type hands. So this is a really close spot. I think a call is correct here. We have overcards. We have a backdoor flush draw. We have a backdoor straight draw. We can turn a lot of equity in this spot, and some villains are probably just doing this as a bluff. I think anything like this is probably the very bottom of our, like, what we could call. This is like the absolute bottom of our range. And we end up folding, which is fine, right? Like folding the absolute bottom of what I think maybe an appropriate calling range should be is probably okay. But I think, you know, on balance, it should probably be a call. He had top pair, top kicker, so good fold at the time. But like I said, this is a good example of what I'm talking about. Like, and I'm sure that's exactly what I thought. Is like, you know what, this is weighted a lot towards top pair, top kicker. He called a 3-bet. Yeah, actually, sorry, this is a 3-bet pot. This I think in a 3-bet pot it makes more sense to fold than in a single raise pot. So I actually like the fold better. I forgot it was 3-bet because we keep switching between limits. It's a little bit confusing. I would look at it in big blinds, but that's not how I look at it at the table. So I used to just always use big blinds, but I like looking at it the same way I see it when I'm playing the table. This is going to be a 3-bet. There's going to be a call. We are going to continuation bet. He calls, and yeah, I mean, if we think about an opponent's calling range here, like this, I believe makes sense to just go ahead and check back. I don't think we want to be bluffing here because this just connects way too well with his calling range. Any of his draws that he called with, any pairs are still going to be strong. And we have equity, so if he checks to us, we can also just check back, realize our equity. We've got outs to the nuts, so we can just check back, and this is an easy check fold. So yeah, and he actually he called our bet on the flop with 9s, and then actually turned a set. So good fold, good play. Let's see here. I guess this is all right. We could probably fold. You know what? We could probably just fold Jack 7 suited. This guy is 3-betting a lot, but that also means he's probably going to be aggressive post flop. He's probably going to play reasonably well in 3-bet pots. So again, like, I think we can tighten up our range a little bit. I'm not sure. Let me see what I have in my charts that I gave my students. Because the charts I gave my students are pretty much the same range as I play. So versus a big blind 3-bet, button versus big blind 3-bet. Yeah, Jack 7 suited is right outside of that range. So this should be a fold. Like a Jack 8 suited, 10-7 suited, 10-8 suited, Queen 8 suited. Those are all calls, but Jack 7 suited, we can go ahead and fold. Anyway, it's definitely close, right? It's right on the edge. Yeah, I mean, he's betting small here. We have 3-card flush and some backdoor draws. So I think this is an appropriate peel on the flop. And we turn a gut shot. So depending on his bet size, he pots it. So I don't think we should call. We fold. I think that's correct. Yeah, it's pocket aces. So good fold. Hey, Jeremiah, how's it going, man? Nice. Thanks for stopping by. All right. So yeah, we are streaming live here, which is fun. Nice change of pace once in a while. And I think I'm going to need to grab a new set of hands soon. We're almost out of these ones. Getting down to some pretty small pots. But I might go back, Jeremiah, and review some of the big ones just to show you. I definitely am starting to agree with the fact that a lot of the money, a lot of the buy-ins we give away are just, if we just look at our biggest lost pots, we can find a lot of big mistakes. Okay, so here we get what the heck is this? So this is a 3-bet from the small blind, and we're under the gun. Yeah, I mean, we can fold this. Yeah, this is another one where I'm actually okay folding. I mean, calling is reasonable, but like this is a tight range. Like this is going to be a tight 3-betting range, and I get it. We're in position, but this is just a hand we can fold. We don't need to play this. So he checks. We make our standard bet. He raises. We fold. Yeah. Again, this is just too tight a range. We don't need to play 5-6 suited against a super tight range. We're opening under the gun. We're getting 3-bet. We can fold. All right. Again, I'm not sure what the deal with the whole discussion about like how high rake is at micro stakes and if we should only be like 3-betting as much as possible. I'm definitely fine with 3-betting 8s. What's my 4-bet range on the Jack-7 hand? Like aces and kings. Yeah, like aces, kings, maybe some queens. I mean, we've got positions, so the thing about like 4-betting from the button is like we're blowing people off of a lot of worse hands when we have position on them. So yeah, I don't do a lot of like 4-betting from the button, and I don't 4-bet light typically. I might actually, something that I could do potentially is like only use my 4-bet bluffing range. No, I don't really bluff that much I don't really 4-bet bluff much. I might. Something I was saying, like I could do is instead of, aces, kings, queens, and ace king is what I would be 4-betting. Actually, maybe not even queens. Is just use like my, a couple bluff hands. Like I've got a bluff hand if I want to use that's like 8-5 suited. So I could throw an 8-5 suited if I happen to get that and bluff 4-bet bluff with that once in a while, and then just so I could add that in to this range because I'm going to be folding out some hands, but no, I don't typically 4-bet bluff that much here. All right. So we do get 3-bet. This is going to be a call. And 8-5. 8-5 suited. And this is a fold. So, yeah. Not surprising. I like ISO raising here. I get it. I can limp too, but ISO raising or limping. Actually, no. When I look at it, this player has a really low limp fold. This player limp folds like half the time, so we're like almost never getting folds here. We're gonna end up playing ace-2 offsuit out of position. So I kind of like just completing better. We do flop a flush draw, check. We get 2 calls, so this is just gonna be a call. We turn a pair. Now, this player is betting into 2 people. So you might be thinking like, oh, this looks like a good spot to raise. We got a pair plus a flush draw. We can raise and try to like push him off of, whatever he has. The problem is it's a fairly reasonable player, 30-23, and he's betting into 2 players. And it was a 4-handed flop, right? So it was 4 hands on the flop. He's the one that bet, right? He actually like donk led out. Yeah, he like donk bet out. And is leading the flop, and then he's getting 2 callers, and then he's following up on the turn. So I just don't think we have enough fold equity here to raise. And I do think we have a lot of equity and a lot of potential because we're deep to get value on the river because, it looks like he has a fairly strong hand. Now, a 4th club may kill our action, but even if we just like donked out half pot here, if we hit our flush, like he'd probably end up calling with some of his stronger hands. And he may even have second best flushes. As it turns out, we end up getting a jack and just check folding. He ended up having 2 pair. So again, not a hand I expect him to fold on the turn to a raise. And, maybe we don't get a whole lot more value on the river either on the 4th club, but I think the play is reasonable. I don't think we need to fold our nut flush, especially since like he can have worse flushes in his range. All right. And queen. As soon as I get to the end of this round of hands, I'm going to go refill my drink, and then we can talk through some more. Let's see. This looks good. Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's a really weird thing when you get raised from under the gun. Like, the ranges are so tight that, you know, it's obviously going to be really close, but king-queen suited is too strong to fold, too big to fail. The check back is very suspicious on the flop. Like, his range is really tight. I mean, aces, kings, queens, ace, king, maybe some ace, queen, maybe some like ace, jack offsuit type stuff. And like, that's it, right? I mean, and then like some bluffs if he has them. But this is a 28-6 player who has a 3-bet of 4%. So again, just looking at the 28-6 over 50 hands, not expecting a whole lot of bluffs here. So yeah, I think that this check back is really suspicious. Not only that, but I think that if he does have the kings and queens part of his range, like he's not going to fold to 1-bet. So we either have to like think that we are. Well, I'm already getting to the turn. I'm saying like we have a sort of standard play where we stab this turn. The problem is if he has kings or queens, which is like the part of his range that didn't hit this flop really hard, then we need to bet turn and bet river to get him off of those hands. Otherwise, we should just check. And I don't think betting turn and betting river is all that great an idea either, because he could easily check back with some of his stronger hands as well once in a while. So I'm guessing I bet here, and I think, oh, okay, I actually do check. Cool. Yeah, I understand that I'm blocking those, but I mean that's part of the reason for why I don't think betting here is that great. I'm like blocking the hands that I potentially could even, you know, double barrel to get him off of. I mean, the rest of his range just hits this board. I mean, the ace and the jack also block his ace king and his ace jack and his aces and his jacks. Like, both of our ranges are blocked here, but it just means both of our ranges hit this board. So pretty much we have two strong ranges that hit this board, and I don't think that c-betting or stabbing the turn here is a great idea because of that. He ends up betting, and I end up folding, and he had pocket kings. So that's kind of exactly what... I haven't reviewed this hand, I swear. Yeah. So I just, like, normally, all I was pointing out is that normally we stab that turn, and I think this is a spot where we should not be stabbing the turn. D suds, yeah, what's going on? This is a mix of like 50 NL and 100 NL. I think mostly. All right, so we've got king 10 off. Yeah, calling here is probably fine. I mean, could probably fold too. I'm not sure if it's like necessarily in our defend range all the time, but I don't have my Flopzilla pulled up, so let me pull it up just to check, because this is a good time to actually notice if I'm opening or calling with, hey, thanks for the follow, man. Oh, sorry, I don't have a follower notification, whoever that was. The sound went off, but I don't have the notification. Sorry. Hey, wait, maybe it did. Maybe it did and I just didn't see it. I don't know. Sorry about that. I gotta edit my overlay for my new streaming setup at some point. But anyway, big blind defense versus under the gun. 3x. Oh yeah, king 10 off is in there. Yeah, so king 10 off is going to be a defend, which is what I thought. I just wanted to verify. All right, this will be a check. And this seems like a good spot to check raise, right? A rainbow, low flop against an under the gun range. And I mean, our big blind range hits this a lot better than his under the gun range, so I think we should check raise. We do. We get called. We should not continue. So we're done. And yeah, his play's fine. He's calling with, you know, overcards plus a backdoor flush draw. He turns the flush draw. He barrels. I like his play. It seems pretty standard. Yeah, nothing really interesting there. I think there are players that exist that will fold that ace king though. This is a 35-29, so not surprising that he called. But against some more like nittier players, that they'll do that. Why take king 10 off and check raise with no equity except overs? Because it's going to be a spot that's overfolded. Typically, players are going to fold a lot in that spot. All right, so we raise here. And yeah, I mean, no, but feel free to ask questions, guys. That's why I'm doing this. So ask questions, challenge my assumptions, and if I can't, give a good reason, then maybe more work needs to be done. Although occasionally I will say, because my coach says so, which is perfectly reasonable. I'm, just at the point where I'd call myself about 100 NL player, and so sometimes, like, if my coach tells me something is true, I kind of just go with it for a little bit. But most of the time, I know the background information on it as well. So, yep, this is going to be a check. This is going to be the same thing. This is going to be a check raise for the exact same reasons as before. Good. I'm glad to see that the spots that I think are supposed to be check raises, I'm actually making them. And then, again, this is not a turn where we turn equity, so it's going to be a check. And, occasionally there are spots to reopen here, and I kind of think this is a good one. I'm not sure whose range this connects with better. Like, I'm not sure who ends up with more straights here, me or the opponent. But when he checks back the turn, he has a lot less. Like, he doesn't have any more sets. Or usually, he doesn't. He usually doesn't have sets at this point. He usually doesn't have that many straights on the turn. So he would have had to river the straight, and he would have had to not bet his draw. Although we would have had to not bet our draw as well. Right, like if we had a straight draw here, we would barrel. And we also have like some sliver of showdown equity, although not really. Once he calls the flop, we don't really have showdown equity. So I'm kind of into bluffing this spot. I'm curious what you guys think of a bluff here. Because I think he ends up here with a lot of like one pair hands that called on the flop. I don't think we fold out two pair hands. He probably rivers some two pair, and but if he turned two pair, he bets, right? So like, I just don't expect him to check back a lot of two pair sets or turn straights. So he essentially has to have like pocket fives or tens that didn't bet the turn. So So what straights does he have on the river, though? You say he can have tons of straights, but the only straights he really has are like 5, 6. Unless we have 9, 10, and we're the type of player to check the nuts on the turn. Given it's the last 12, I think he calls more of those one pair hands, and we want to fold. 5, 6, 7, 8. With his stack, I think we will always bet the turn. Yeah, I would agree that he, yeah, I guess, yeah, the 7, 5, 6, 5 are definitely possible. It just has king 6 and calls. Anyway, I do end up checking. He ends up betting, and I end up folding. So he had the 9, 10. All right. That's fine. I was just curious. Obviously, that's how I played it at the time, and I think that's probably correct. He probably does have a lot, but I just wanted to see what you guys thought. The short stacks don't like folding. Sometimes it's like their last 12 bucks that they're like more apt to fold. But I agree in general they're calling lighter usually. I was just curious. I think the check fold is standard. This is going to be a 3-bet. Good. 4-bet, bad. Fold, good. Easy. Open queen 10 off, cut off. Check. First a $3 bet. This is close. I could go a few ways. I could actually see raising. I could see an argument for raising, calling, and folding here. Looking at it now, I kind of like raising best, but I feel like this is not a spot I would normally raise, so I'm guessing I probably just call. Okay, I do raise. Yeah, so yeah, I'm fine with the raise. I think raise or call is best. I think folding is too weak. The pair on the board, yeah, I mean, we raised, so we're not continuing at all, so we're just going to fold now. Yeah, the king jack, so that's fine. And we get a call from the blind. It's going to be a c-bet. Call. I like barreling this turn. I don't think we should check back here. I think we should just barrel. I don't know. It's just a bet. I don't really know. I don't think there's much more to talk about. But and then once he does this, what do you guys think? I'm going to wait for you guys to respond with what you think you should do. Death by quads. Every c-bet I've made has been that size the entire session. So that's my standard c-bet sizing. Easy fold. Shades thinks it's an easy fold. What do you guys think? Fold? Fold? Alright. Alright, good. Ace high flush. Come on, death by quads. He's better than that. Alright. King, queen off. Sure, I actually kind of like, let me check my big blind range again here. 3-bet versus under the gun. I've got king, queen off as like a 25%. 25% 3-bet, and then the rest of the time is going to be a call, obviously. So this guy seems pretty tight. I think that's more an argument for calling than 3-betting, but I may not have, you know. It's a mixed strategy. All right, we'll call it a mixed strategy. Obviously, we're going to fold to that. You know what, though? I really don't think he should be 4-betting here. Like, that's kind of interesting that a 24-12 that's this tight is going to get 3-bet from under the gun and 4-bet with ace-queen. Like, that's a really light 4-bet, especially in that setup. So, I mean, that's a player that's, like, really going to make some mistakes because most of my 3-betting range is, like, I mean, it's tight. You know, there's some bluffs in it, but I don't use them. I really don't use the bluffs as often as I probably should, and it's pretty darn value heavy. So anyway, let's see what else we got here. Yeah, same thing. I like an ISO raise here. Oh, wait, no, sorry. This guy min raised. Again, I'm switching back and forth between 100 NL and 50 NL, so sometimes I miss it. Yeah, I mean, we're not folding, but I could either go with a 3-bet or a call here. Again, I'm sort of leaning towards, I got to find out what all this hype. Apparently, there was some Run It Once video where somebody played a bunch of, I don't know how much they played, but they played some Ignition, and they, how do we know that's a fish in the big blind? Oh, because he's short stacked. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, okay. All right. It's decent point that there's a short stack in the big blind. Good point. So, okay, yeah, anyway. We're just going to check back. We're not c-betting into multiple people with weak hands. Here, we're obviously going to call. And here, we're obviously going to fold. Ace-10 offsuit. I'm sure I thought about calling here because of the paired board and the fact that the flushes both missed and the fact that some people do this with an ace, but I remember this hand now, but he bet almost full pot, which, like, I don't know. I went through that pretty fast. Do we have 9x to call on the river? No, we c-bet 9x. Yeah, I would have bet with top pair. I probably would have raised a 3. Yeah, it's definitely a spot where we're in a tough spot. Yeah, the 5 might be the top of our range in this spot. It's actually a good point. I'm going to mark this hand. Yeah, mark that. That's a good point, actually, D-Suds. This actually does... The only issue, though, and the reason I found the fold, is it's multi-way on the flop. So typically, I just put people's ranges as being tighter in a multi-way pot. So that's why, like, it's just not going to be a check raise on the turn. I mean, nah, I don't. I mean, we could be check raise, like we could be just check raising dead here. Like, right? Like we could be check raising into some like nutted hands. I don't really like a check raise here. We've got position. We can see the river. Yeah, I don't like a check raise. I think the double paired board does get. I see. You said it's under bluffed. I actually think I see a lot of people bluff. I see a lot of people do this with an ace. So I don't mind a call here. I actually remember when, like, if you find the video of this, it's probably in the past streams. Like, I think I probably timed down and really thought about calling here. Looked at his bet sizing and decided to fold. All right. So I marked it for review. I'll take a look. Let's see here. Ace queen off. Yep. Get 4-bet, fold by ace queen suited. Now I can't, like, this is a 16-7 and he's 4-betting ace queen like, I'm 3-betting and he's cold 4-betting. I did not know people were cold 4-betting ace queen suited. This is a surprise to me. All right, this is gonna be a c-bet. Gonna be a turn barrel. This is gonna be a river check. And he rivered me. Right? Like, like, right, I'm not the only one that's surprised by the ace-queen 4-betting, right? Like, this is not a normal thing. I'm glad I'm not the only one that's, like, surprised by that. Here we've got a 3-bet, or sorry, an open, a 3-bet from a fairly aggressive guy that's 3-betting 10%. I'm just going to flat on the button with the 10s. This guy 4-bets, and I fold. Good fold. All right, so the 3-bet, the call, and then the reopen 4-bet is going to be a fold with 10s. Like, that's a pretty standard fold. If you're not making that fold, I think it's a mistake. Ace-jack. I actually honestly could fold versus a 3-bet with ace-jack. I really don't mind folding here. Calling in position is probably okay, but I don't know. This guy's 33 over 9 hands, so I have no information. Call's all right. I don't mind folding either. Just muck. He had ace-king, so yeah. I honestly think we probably just muck ace-jack offsuit. It's kind of garbage to most players' 3-bet ranges. I don't really like this call. Where? With the pocket 10s? On the 10-10 hand? Ace-jack? Oh. Our 4-bet, I mean, it's going to be similar to what our button range is. It's going to be like aces and kings and ace-king. Yeah. Just going to be like aces, kings, queens, and ace-king. It's going to be really tight. Because again, like, players just aren't usually 3-betting that light, so it's not something that, no, I mean, like, not really. not really bluffing that much. I mean, I might throw, no, I honestly can't think of the last 4-bet bluff that I ran. I'm just not 4-bet bluffing that much. It's just not a part of my game right now. Maybe as I get up to higher limits, I'll need it, but again, like, if I'm, you know, like, not, I don't mean this to sound like cocky. I think it's a simpler strategy that's needed at these limits to have a good win rate. And right now I'm over a pretty good sample. I'm like doing like 10 or 12 BBs per 100 depending on the day. So I just don't think it's necessary to, I don't know. I think that's pretty good. So if things are going well, I don't think we need to adjust it that much. Yeah, I don't think I'm making a ton of money either by 4-bet bluffing if I were to incorporate it. All right, this ISO raise looks fine. I mean, my gut reaction is to raise here. I feel like I probably just called, though. We've got a pair, backdoor flush draw, and whatnot, but I kind of like raising here. Just against the min donk, raising seems pretty good. This is going to be a call again, although I also like raising here a little bit. But again, we are in position, and then we'll probably just muck. I don't know. I don't know what to think of that. Fairly low frequency play. Here we have another ace-jack where I do decide to call. Again, like, I'm definitely 3-betting ace-jack offsuit because I'm not calling an under-the-gun open with ace-jack off. But yeah, there's probably some argument to be made for just 3-betting. I don't know what sample this is over. He's folded to 0 out of 3 3-bets, so I don't know, 3-betting and then having position on him might actually be pretty good. It also gets the pot heads up with a guy that's playing 54-33. Might be good. But calling is definitely fine. Yeah, we're pretty much not doing anything with this flop or this turn. Yeah, I don't even love this call, but I guess it's okay. We've got a pair plus a gutter. Yeah, that's fine. All right, let me go grab a refill on my drink. We got about 30 minutes left of the stream, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. Like, if you missed it, since I think the stream, I'll do this little PSA first. But the reason that I started this stream up right now is I just put a video on YouTube up, and let me switch back over to, I'm going to do a little advertisement for a second. Think about how often you are folding to a 4-bet. Your opponents are folding probably just as much as light as some players are 3-betting. 4-betting position works. I mean, maybe, but the problem is if players are not 3-betting light, then they're just, I mean, I've looked at it. I've looked at a 3 million hand database and hand to note, and players just aren't 3-betting that light. So if they're not 3-betting that light, then they're either calling or stacking off with a really high percentage of their range. And again, like, this isn't to sound like a dick, but like, my win rate's been really strong over the last like 50 to 100,000 hands, and I haven't used light 4-betting as part of that. So and my coach didn't use light 4-betting all the way up to 2K no limit, and he made $100,000 playing 1 and 2K no limit over like 3 months. So he didn't use light 4-betting at that limit. So it's just not a part of my strategy, and so far it has not caused me to not be able to win. And it seems like it adds a lot of mental stress, a lot of variance, and just, yeah, I just don't see it as being really that necessary at this point. But maybe as I move up or if I play on more challenging sites, it will be needed. But as of right now, I'm not seeing a need for it. Anyway, let me... Nope, that's not what I wanted. Nope, that's not what I wanted. There we go. Okay. Where the heck Notepad? There we go. All right, so the reason I am doing this is I started this out with a little advertisement. All right, so people have asked me to do this. This is something I wasn't planning on doing. I was planning on sticking to monthly coaching, but because people asked me to do it, I decided to figure out a plan that I thought would give out some really high quality coaching for a good, affordable price. And this is what I decided to do, that from 10 a.m. to 12 Eastern time every day, I would stream for 2 hours. If people want to pay for coaching, I'm going to do a 2-hour session where I review their hands prior to going on stream, make notes on some of their hands, and then give them a couple themes to work on, and then go through the hands just like I'm doing today, where I go through all the hands, talk through the strategy, and then go over my notes that I took, and then, give them a summary of, I'll look at their stats over the sample they send me, give them some overall, like, hey, here's some areas you might want to look at that you might be doing this too much or too little, and then look through the hands, and then give them one or two like bullet points of like, hey, here's what you really need to work on. Work on this, eliminate this leak, and then come back for another session, and we'll go over the next thing. So that's my plan for the one-off sort of coaching sessions. Like I said, you can kind of see on stream, the available Monday through Friday, one student per day. It's going to be only $75 per session, which includes the full 2 hours, full 2-hour hand review plus me reviewing the hands prior. So it's a pretty good amount of my time for a little bit of money, but I'm going to do it on stream, and hopefully it'll also build awareness so that I can get more monthly coaching students, which is where I think I really want to build a good program. All right, all you have to do is just send the $75 to unexceptionalrounder@gmail.com on PayPal, and then send me an email with a 5 to 10K hand sample. And then I'll send you a link so that we can schedule it. You can either be there or not be there. I can do it like this with just a database of hands, go through the hands, and that's all good. Or if somebody wants to actually be on stream and ask questions about the hands, then we can do that. Either way, it doesn't really matter to me too much. But that's what's going on. That's sort of the offer that I'm putting out there, and we'll see what happens. Either it'll be me doing a lot of study every day for 2 hours, which is perfectly fine with me. That's a very comfortable option. Or it'll be me helping other people get better while going over hands. Again, also a good option. So if you guys are interested in this, let me know. And I'm going to be right back. I'm going to refill my drink, and then we've got about another 20 minutes of hand review, and we'll finish up this session. All right, be right back. All right, there you go. I told you it wouldn't be long. All right, anyway, so that's the coaching pitch. Again, I'm not like, if people want to sign up, that's great. If not, I'm just going to come on, do 2 hours of my own hand history review, and that will probably be just about as valuable as anything else. So let's pull the replayer back up. And that's pretty cool. I'm going to keep that back there. Maybe I'll actually make it in the stream so I don't have to pull up the notepad every time. But, halfway through the stream or something, I'll pop that up just so people know what the deal with coaching is. I'll also probably put something like that underneath the stream. Also, the stream's only going to be on Twitch. So I'm going to tell my YouTube viewers that to watch the daily stream at 10 a.m., I'm just going to focus that on Twitch. I'll probably upload the replay to YouTube later on, but just for simplicity, let's just focus on Twitch for these sessions. Man, 2 hours straight of talking, getting worn out, and I still haven't even started up my session. Okay, C-bet. Well, okay, we got a donk bet. So this is a pretty straightforward call. I don't see any value in really raising this. He's potting it. Standard. So what do you guys think of this? I just remembered what I did, but let me know what you guys think here. I'm curious because, you know, we've got a flush draw. You're not supposed to fold flush draws on the turn. That's like a general rule. Sud says fold. Jeremiah's back. That's not an answer. Fold, fold. All right. Maybe it's not as tough a spot as I thought. It's pretty much a basic pot odds issue, right? Like sometimes we're drawing dead, sometimes jam. Spaltzer, are you being serious with the jam? I don't think a jam would be very good. Yeah, it's a pot odds issue, right? He only has 18 behind. He's betting 18, so we're getting 2-1. We need 5-1. At least, you know, maybe 6 or 7-1 implied. Like we have to have some implied odds, and then, you know, he doesn't even have enough back. Like he doesn't even have enough hands behind. Plus he can have better flush draws. Plus he could have boats. Now he could also be full of shit, which I wouldn't be surprised. But look at that, he's freaking got us drawing dead, stone cold dead. On a side note, I wouldn't go quite so ham if I were you and I was holding the stone cold nuts. Like, I'm not sure what mentality is, like, the size on the flop is fine, but, like, there's no need to pot this on the turn. He has, like, he's got, like, everything, and he's just, like, blowing all sorts of hands off. I mean, really, he should be, like... Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's just clicking buttons. I mean, what would a good sizing on the turn here be? I would say that we want to bet a size. I would almost say like maybe a third pot, right? Like let's incentivize worse flush draws to jam. Let's incentivize, you know, ace jack to jam. Like that's what a good, like a thinking player would bet something like $6 here. I think like maybe $6 or $7. Like make it look like you know have fold equity, or you're making a block bet with a flush draw. Like do something. Don't just pot it. This is terrible. Anyway, next hand. Let's see. Yeah, I'm fine with squeezing here as well, but calling is obviously pretty easy. We're getting good odds. Yeah, multi-way, no backdoor flush draw, middle pair. I think this should be a fold, and I call. So I think this is a mistake. I think we should be folding here. We're out of position, and I kind of knew that I might call, but I really think we need to be folding this. Again, on a grid, right, on a GTO grid, this is going to be a call, but against our average pool opponents, I think we can just find a fold here. We're going to end up folding on the turn. So again, even though like yes, we were ahead on the flop, his bets are going to be so equity driven that we're just never going to get to showdown. We're never going to realize our equity. So even if we're 60 or 70% ahead on the flop, we're just going to get pushed off our hand way too often. And yeah, we can bring. So here's another like kind of more advanced topic. Like we even have better folds that we can bring to the turn. So like we need some hands in our range that we call on the flop and fold on the turn, but we can even use better hands to call the flop and fold the turn, I think, than ace-6. Like I think we can bring flush draws. I mean, flush draws probably won't get brought to the turn, but like we can bring some gut shots to the turn that we fold. We can bring, some... I mean, yeah, we'll have some gut shots in our range. We'll have some overcards in our range, right? Like I would rather bring overcards to the turn that we're going to fold, because when we hit our overcards, we're going to, be able to continue versus, we're almost just never going to continue with ace-6 unless we improve. Yeah, backdoor flush draws I would rather bring to the turn. That's exactly right. Backdoor flush draws, gut shots, and overcards. But I'm not going to call with overcards here either, obviously. But, yeah, there's a few other cards. I don't know. I don't like that call on the flop, so I marked it. Another ace king of hearts. We had 3 ace king of hearts today that here in this batch that did not go well. How many hands do I have left? I really want to get through. Whoa. All right, I'm going to go through like one or two more hands. I didn't realize I selected so many. I'm going to go through like 1 or 2 more hands, and then the last 15 minutes, I want to go back through and run like a drill on some of the hands we noted up, because like to get that repetition and that active recall by, you know, going through the hand. Okay, so what happened here? We open, we get called, c-bet, get raised. Yeah, this is going to be a call. We're going to be ahead a lot, and we're going to be able to continue on a lot of different cards. So I think we should be calling here. This is not one of the cards. Wow, okay. Anyway, I mean, that is not one of the... What is the thumping sound coming from? Oh, thank you. It's tapping the monitor, sorry. Why the small sizing on this board? Really? I've used the same sizing on every single pot, on every single hand for the last hour and 48 minutes. Yeah. That's the default. I c-bet my range and I use the same size. I use about 25% of the pot size, but I c-bet the entire range. So anyway, again, we end up folding a better, well, wait a minute. We end up folding a better hand, but it's okay. We didn't turn any equity on it, so I think it's all right. All right, let's do one more. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's a board like maybe we could check back sometimes if we were adjusting our strategy, but for now, we're just keeping things simple. All right, fair enough, fair enough, Suds. Fair enough. I appreciate you being here. Your commentary is very helpful. So yeah, I like this ISO raise. Again, we're gonna c-bet. We get raised. We fold. Again, a lot of players raise top pair. It's okay. I don't hate it. I mean, works pretty well against me, I guess, since I c-bet a lot. We get calls here. Again, multi-way. If this was heads up, I would c-bet. I would not c-bet because we're out of position. Usually going to call one with second pair, so I think that's fine. That's a pretty code red board. We're obviously just checking back. I'm going to lose, but what was the sizing? I mean, he's betting half pot. Like, maybe we're supposed to find a fold here. But I don't know. With the flush draw coming, I could see players just betting with just about, you know, some players will just stab here. So I don't think we should necessarily fold on the turn. I think we would fold on the river, and I think this is overall it's okay. Hopefully the thumping on the mic stopped. I think it was just hitting the boom was hitting the monitor. Okay. I guess we call here. It's a weird spot. Oh, he doesn't have any money behind, so even if we like turn and river some like outs, like I think we fold here. Yeah, I think a fold here is okay because he's so short, we're like not gonna have any equity. The other thing is I talked about it earlier in the stream. I think the min raise on the flop is generally weighted towards top pair type hands more often than not, more often than larger sizings. This one happened to be a flush draw, but it's like a money, like that's a very valuable hand. Okay, so I'm gonna close out of this for a second. I'm gonna go back into Poker Tracker, and I'm gonna filter for marked hands. Okay, and I just want to review the hands that we went over today. There's 8 hands that I marked as essentially as my mistakes or need review. And I really want to focus on the top 3. So we're going to replay those. And for some reason, this never wants to pick up the replayer correctly. There we go. Okay, so this was like the worst hand of the batch. Not a very well played hand by me. And like I said, what I'm going to do is, like after the stream, I'm not going to do it on stream. Right after the stream ends, I'm essentially going to go through these hands again, and I'm going to note them down in a notebook where I go over my A to C game analysis, because what I'm looking for is essentially C game mistakes. Mistakes that happen when I'm tired, when my mental game is not sharp, when when I get irritated with a player at the table because like I'm not hitting hands against them or something else, or like somebody's fucking with me in the chat or something while I'm live streaming and it gets to me for some reason because I'm tired. So what I'm looking for is mistakes that when I review them, it's like, what's happening? And like, some people may say they don't have these. I feel like everyone must have them, or else people would be much better winners. There are people that can break down hands very, very clearly and like methodically that still for some reason aren't like crushers at the table, and it has to be because of these mental game leaks. So what I'm looking for is like if I find a spot that's like a clear C game mistake, then I can sort of drill down on that, fix that C game mistake, and then move on. So this is the first one. All right, so we 3-bet a very aggressive player. I wish I could turn on the HUD so that you guys can see it, but he's 76-33. He's 3-betting. He's 3-bet before. I mean, I guess, you know what? I really overestimated his aggressiveness. He's only got 21 hands, and I kind of like, I must have had a hand that I played with him before or something. I really overestimated this guy's aggression. But he calls my 3-bet. We make our C-bet. He calls. We get a board pairing turn, which is going to be a double barrel. This is a very standard double barrel spot for us. So we make our double barrel, it's half pot, and he ships. And for some reason, I decide like he has a lot of ace queen in his range or flush draws in his range, which I'm not saying he doesn't have flush draws sometimes. But when we like weigh it across everything else, he also has like 9-10 a lot, or like maybe not even that much. Like he also has like 10s and jacks a pretty good amount. He probably has pocket pairs. He has pocket 9s, maybe pocket 3s sometimes, maybe pocket 4s once in a while. If players are calling their pocket pairs to a 3-bet, which is not uncommon here. He's 76-33. He could have, for all I know, he could have 3-4 of clubs or something like that. Some weird stuff. I don't know. But if I think, I have to really stretch to find a good excuse for calling here, and I end up making the call. Now, the other problem is I've made calls in the past in spots like this that were right, but I have a feeling if I went back and looked at those hands, I would find that there are other details about either the player or the hand or something else that actually made it a lot more reasonable. I feel like I put a player profile on this guy that was very volatile prior to it's a good point. The first red flag is the large red. Well, it's a limp though. No, it's an ISO raise. He's not under the gun. What are you talking about? He's making a very small ISO raise. I would raise to $2 here. So he's making a very small ISO raise. I'm re-raising and he's flat calling. But yeah, I mean he flat calls. I mean, yeah, maybe some sets would raise here too. But anyway, he ends up jamming, and yeah, we end up making the call. So I don't think it's necessarily completely absurd that he would have a flush draw sometimes here, and so sometimes we're getting in ahead. But even against like a flush draw and like 2 over, like I'll do it. You guys can't see it, but let me launch an equity calculator. Hold on, let me go back to the turn. Launch a equity calculator. Keep in mind, we need 30% equity here. So I have ace king. Let's give him, shit, I don't know if I can even do it. This is like kind of a crappy equity calculator. I want to give him flush. Oh, so let me give him like, 10 jack of diamonds. God darn it. Like 10 jack diamonds. 10 10 and like 6 7 of diamonds. Like, can we agree that like diamond draws are about the worst we could do here? Oh, and let's give him like one, ace of, yeah, like an ace queen of diamonds. I mean, all right, calculate. So I'm like 51% against that most optimistic ever range. So like if I put 10 jack of diamonds, 10 10, 6 7 of diamonds, and ace queen of diamonds, so essentially 3 draws and only 1 value hand, then I'm like 50-50. If I also add in pocket nines, and it only changed by a little bit. Now I'm a 40% dog. And jack. Now, okay, so if he has pocket nines, jacks, and tens, which all are in his range, obviously, then it goes to 26%. If I add in, I mean, I don't know, 9-10, like 9-10 suited, that seems kind of light, but 10-9 suited. Yeah, I mean, it only brings it down till it's like still 23%. So anyway, point is we really don't have equity, even against a very optimistic. I mean, also, I'm only including a few flush draws, like 10 jack, ace queen, 6 7. But like, I just don't think everybody's gonna. He's in position, right? Like most players. Yeah, I mean, ace 4 suited is definitely not unlikely. I agree. Yeah, I agree. He could have like an ace 4 of clubs. Add that in. Calculate. Now we're down to 21%. It just gets worse and worse, right? I mean, it just keeps getting worse. So this is, I mean, I knew it just by looking at it that it was a mistake. The issue is like you have to figure out, I mean, it is worthwhile to figure out like what does a guy have to be doing to make this not a mistake? And it has to be like really, really out there. I would say that there's the only type of player that you could make this play against after only 21 hands, like would have had to be so, he would have had to be doing things that were so ridiculous that, I mean, it would be blatantly obvious that this is a call. And like, it certainly was not blatantly obvious at the time. Yeah, I put 6 7 of diamonds in there. Oh, he'd have to be No, I mean, if he was jamming 6 7 spade. Well, I mean, if he was jamming every flush draw he had, like we'd be in pretty good shape. But like, yeah, if he's also got all ace 4 suited, and tens and jacks, then yeah, it's just gonna be really rough. I mean, bottom line, it's gonna be really rough. And one hand that we did not include, we included tens and jacks. We did not include queens. So all of a sudden, you enter queens into his range. And that's another freaking 6 combos of stuff that, has us fairly crushed. Yeah, we have very little equity against, his actual hand. We've got like 12% equity. So anyway, maybe it's, it's even against that pretty like brutal like range. I mean, we were like 20% and we were getting 30% equity. So like maybe this isn't as horrifyingly terrible as I thought. Since like at worst we can have 20% equity here, like against like a fairly bad like range. So I mean we're 10% off, which is bad, but maybe not quite as terrible as I thought it was. Against like probably a reasonable range, we're like 23%. So again, it is a fold, but and maybe it's something that I shouldn't like discount as like never being the correct play. But it would have to be somebody just that's really shown a propensity to like be like jamming a lot. Yeah, it might not be as terrible as I originally thought. Anyway, so that one's marked. We've gone over it. I'll note it down. And yeah, sometimes it just feels terrible when you lose a big hand like that when you're calling off with ace king high. And then, all right, we are at 12. I'm going to wrap it up soon. This is the other one, and you guys let me know what you think of this. This one also, I think, is a little closer than I originally thought. I'm going to move on to the next hand. We'll replay the video to check out the size. I want to get through a couple more hands before I wrap things up. So this is a 4-bet pot, okay? Now, we've talked before about 4-bets, right? They're not typically light, okay? They're not typically light. So when I look at somebody's 4-bet range, I typically put them on something like ace king and jacks plus, right? Like that's about an average 4-bet range. Apparently, we've seen some ace queen suited sneak in here and there, but again, it's just not the typical range I'm going to put someone on. So when we see a c-bet, we say, okay, lots of ace kings are going to c-bet here, plus all his overpairs. All good, we need to call with our jacks. Okay, we get a turn card. Now it is a flush closing turn, and we get a all-in. So now at this point, we have to assume that he's like doing this with all of his ace of spades, his aces, kings, and queens, and I mean, we almost have to assume that he's just barreling off with a bunch of his ace kings with either the ace or the king of spades to make this even close to being a call, because the rest of his range just beats us. So I would say that if we had, I think queens still looks like a fold. Yeah, I agree, Sherlock. I 100% agree. I totally agree. So this is the hand we reviewed at the beginning of the session. And my argument was that this needs to be a fold. I ended up calling here because I think what my thought process was essentially was, well, we're not supposed to be folding overpairs and 3-bet pots. The difference is this is a 4-bet pot. So the ranges are totally different. And like Sherlock says, realistically, this is like usually like maybe queens, kings, aces, and ace king, you know, to be generous. Okay, so we have to assume he's doing this with any ace or king of spades with his ace kings, and then the rest of his range will crush again. So even in the most optimistic of normal circumstances, this just needs to be a fold. I'm not going to run the equity on it, but we're just not going to. I mean, technically, actually, we only need 26% equity here. So it looks like a 40. I mean, keep in mind this is a $27 bet. We need 26% equity. You would think he has ace-ace. So right. So I think that, yeah, typically we're crushed here. Maybe it would be interesting to put it in to see like if he has how many aces. He has 4 combos of ace king of spades and 4 combos of ace with the king of spades. So he has like 8 combos, and then he has 6 aces, 6 kings, and 6 queens. So 12. I mean, if that's his actual range, then it actually might be a call because he's got more combos of that. But, well, yeah, that's actually a pretty important combo to consider. Yeah, you're right. All right, so 3 of each. So, yeah, I mean, we're crushed. And not only that, but, like, anytime he's jamming here, he has equity. He has that 20% equity against us. So, yeah, this needs to be a fold. He ends up having king 10 off. Jack of diamonds on the river. Yeah, it would have been nice to get the jack of diamonds on the river. So those were my 2 biggest losses of this review. And yeah, I know, like, you got to be careful when you like knowing the results sometimes I think can make you a worse player. Because this is a fairly clear-cut situation. This guy, and you guys can't see it, but his stats are 29, 28, 64 aggression frequency, 3-betting 8%, folding the 3-bets 100%, and that's over 70 hands. So, and my 3, you'd say like, oh, well, he knows you're playing like a psychopath. I'm playing 40, 27 with a 3-bet of 8%. So I'm only 3-betting, 8%. But I do agree. I think this is a fold. And, yeah. No, I looked and, there's not the most, like, the furthest note I have down is like a turn note. So there's nothing really of note in like his notes. So it's an anomaly. So this is just an anomaly hand, and we gotta just live with it. But those were my top 2 losing hands. And then there's this hand, so we can look at this one. This one's actually a larger dollar amount, but smaller big blind. So this will be the last hand we do. Okay, so we get a 3-bet. We 4-bet ace king. Or no, sorry, we 3-bet ace king standard. This is a standard barrel, and we get raised. So when I looked at this hand earlier, I said that I think we need to call this raise. It's a min raise. We're getting almost direct odds to hit our ace or our king, and I think that he can do this with a lot of flush draws. He can obviously be doing this with like a pair of 9s, and then I typically and then maybe some overcards as well, like some overpairs. So I put like some overpairs, some 9s, some flush draws in his range here. But again, I've talked about it before. The min raise is typically a little bit more weighted towards top pair. And in this case, I would argue that it's probably a little bit more weighted towards like top pair and a couple overpairs. But he didn't 4-bet. So there aren't as many. There are definitely aces and kings in his range. Players call 3-bets with aces and kings. It like more frequently than you would think. So they are in there, but they're not as frequent. So I think this needs to be a call on the flop. For some reason, I end up making a pretty wild mistake here, I think, and I end up just shipping the flop. I have no idea what this is or why I did this. Really not sure. I know I'm guessing that what I used to justify it at the time was something like, well, I've got a backdoor flush draw and overcards, and maybe he's bluffing sometimes. But like, if he's bluffing, I'm ahead anyway. I have direct odds to call for my pairs. So this is just a very clear flop call. I mean, I don't think it's a fold. I think it's just a clear flop call, and then play the turn. And now we are out of position, so that's another thing. I'm like, oh, I'll eliminate my positional disadvantage. But this is no good. This is no good. So I think this is like almost a like, I don't want to deal with this. This is too hard to figure out. It's too hard to play turns. I'll just jam it in. So whatever, this is like probably some sort of, I'm tired, like my mind is worn out, and I'm done thinking, and I don't want to play difficult spots. So again, this is a C game leak that needs to kind of be analyzed, drilled a few times, and like really drilled out that like this is not the way to play this. The way to play this is to call and play turns, and to go through this enough times that it's no longer like a conscious path that I can go down, and drill it to the point where it's in my subconscious competence so that it doesn't happen again. You end up having jacks. So again, like, we got in with like not the worst amount of equity, like 30% equity or 20 something percent equity. But like we shouldn't be too results oriented here. What did he had like, do you have the jack of clubs? Yeah, jack of hearts, jack of clubs. It's relevant. This will be the last hand. Jack heart, jack club, calculate. Yeah, so we only had 20% equity, 28. So we had, almost 30% equity, 28% equity. So again, like not, horrifying, but not enough. Like certainly not enough. I would say that like something like this, if we were holding a hand with like 40% equity, would probably be fine, because he only needs to fold a little bit for us to be in business. But yeah, like 45% equity, not really an issue. 28% is no good. Anyway, guys, just to wrap up the stream, again, I'm going to be here every day at 10 a.m. to noon. If I don't have a student, then I will be That's true. Yeah. At the same time, though, I mean, we have direct odds to hit on the turn almost. Like that was the thing. Like we have 6 outs. You know, we're almost getting odds to hit an ace or a king on the turn. So if we weren't getting, like, if we were only getting, you know, if we were getting worse odds, then I agree. But because we're getting such phenomenal odds here, we have odds to almost call just for the turn. And like we hit a club, an ace, or a king often enough to continue frequently enough, I think. So that's I don't know, that's my thought on it. Queen 10 club. I would probably versus the min raise, I would probably just call. Yeah, I would most likely just call the flop min raise here. Anyway, I can go here. Here's the hand. I'm in the big blind. He's on the button. 3-bet, call. Oh, I don't have a background desktop anymore. No, I took that down. That was like, I didn't mean for that to get shown as much as it did, and it was getting shown way too much. No, that's a lot of work that the CFP group has done. I don't feel like that's really mine enough to be like giving that away. So I shouldn't have been showing that in the first place. That was a mistake on my part. So I actually took down the videos on my YouTube channel that were showing it. What's not in my range? Queen 10 suited. I would raise here with Queen 10 suited sometimes. I mean, I would usually call with it, but yeah, I would usually call with Queen 10 suited here. I would have Queen 3 suited. Queen 3 suited, I would 3-bet. That's in my 3-bet range. So what would I do with Queen 3 suited here? I would still call. But anyway, guys, just wanted to wrap up. See, I don't pay nearly as much attention to the sizing, other than whether or not I do pay attention to like whether I call or 3-bet, but it's the third hand, so for all I know, that's just a standard pre-flop sizing. But yeah, you might be right. Maybe there are people that are making a little bit larger sizes with a hand like Jack's, like he had. So anyway, just last time wrap up. I am doing some coaching sessions that are going to be available. I'm going to do them from 10 a.m. to noon. They're going to be full, like 2-hour hand history reviews over a large sample of hands that you submit to me. If you're interested, just send the payment to unexceptionalrounder@gmail.com. Then shoot me an email at unexceptionalrounder. I'll send you a link to the schedule. You don't have to be there for the stream if you can't make it. I'm just going to do a video reviewing the hands. I'll go over the focus topics. I'll go over, the hands that are important. And yeah, it should be really good. I think it's going to be really valuable that people decide to do it. It's something that, my goal is to make it so good that you want to come back and get another session in a couple weeks. But it's going to be a lot of information. So don't feel intimidated. I'm not gonna berate anyone. I'm not gonna say anyone's play is bad or dumb. I might say it's bad. I won't try to insult you or anything. But if you guys want to see an example of what a full session I did looks like, I did one for one of my students that plays 10 no limit on PokerStars, and that's on my YouTube channel, so you can check that out. Let me get a link. I'll throw a link up just so that you can. Let's see. Here, copy, and where is, right here. See if that goes into the Twitch chat. All right, so that's a link to a session I did with one of my students. He plays 10 no limit on PokerStars, and he said that he really got a lot out of it. and we've continued building on some of the stuff we talked about in that session. So yeah, if you guys are interested, just shoot me an email, message me, and we'll get going. If I don't have a student on any given day, I'm going to do what I just did. Honestly, going through my own hands for 2 hours a day is not something I'm going to regret at all. So, whether or not I get students, I'm pretty excited to have a set time where I'm going to study for 2 hours a day. And I'm going to do it live on Twitch so that you guys can check it out and see what's going on. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this session. Hopefully you enjoy the future sessions and any coaching sessions that I do. If you guys enjoy the stream, make sure you follow the channel, and there's ways to support the stream underneath on all those buttons, including the donate one. So I hope you guys have a good day, and I will be streaming. I think I will probably play a little bit this afternoon, but I won't stream it. So the next stream I do will be at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'll go from 8 p.m. to midnight, unless people piss me off again, and then I'll just shut the stream down. But I ended up getting like 28th place in that tournament I played last night. So I was playing a tournament last night, and I ended up actually going pretty deep in it, but it wasn't on stream because I had already turned the stream off. So anyway, if you guys want to check out and watch me play live, that'll be tonight from 8 p.m. to midnight. All right, see you then.